folks, thank you for tuning into the Starving Artist podcast, bringing you meaningful artistic conversations on a bi-weekly basis, like some of your paychecks, like I always say that. But anyways, this is our second episode, and we hope that you continue to listen forever. But we appreciate all the love that you've been forwarding to us via social media, via mail, text, whatever it has been, whether it's sharing, all those things. We really appreciate the love and support. Please keep supporting and sharing with the folks that you know. Once again, this is the Starving Artist podcast. This is our fourth episode, so we're keeping it going. My name is Rocky Cotard, your host, and a fine artist as well as an illustrator, and we're very happy to have you here with us today to connect with our guests, but I will first let our other hosts introduce themselves.
Okay, my name is Xavier Taylor, also known as Professor X. I'm so happy to be doing this podcast today with a favorite friend of mine, colleague, mentor. We're going to get into all that, but again, my name is Xavier, and we're going to pass it off to our next host.
And my name is Katrina, and I'm here to be a moderator for the podcast today.
Kristina Lamour Sansone. Just to give you a brief introduction to the amazing guest that we have with us today. She has a BFA in graphic design from the University of the Arts, an MFA in graphic design from Yale University, jealous, College of Art and CAGS in CAGS in curriculum and instruction from the Graduate School of Education at Les University. So clearly a lot of accolades. For over 3 decades, she has built bridges between graphic design, teaching, learning, creating application to support access, engagement, and comprehension across the lifespan in schools of early to adult learning. Currently a professor of design at Les University, College of Art and Design, and critique at the Rhode Island School of Design in the Department of Teaching and Learning in Art and Design Education. Clearly, I struggle to say all of them because they're so much. So, forgive me, but certainly a pleasure to have you here with us, Kristina. I definitely want to give you the opportunity to also introduce yourself because I definitely said a lot of words there.
Oh no! Well, you did a great job. I think that's perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Anything that we missed or anything, favorite?
Well, tell us what the CAGS is.
Okay, CAGS is it's a certificate of advanced graduate study. So I really want to do my doctorate someday, and so the CAGS those are all doctoral courses that would lead to a doctoral program. So that's my ultimate goal. But
So you're not done learning, apparently.
never. Well, I feel like being a faculty though, I feel like I'm always a student because my students are always smarter than me. So that's the truth. That's the truth. No, it's true.
You're just being humble.
No.
I've seen you put some students in their place, but
Xavier, you're smarter than me. Trust me. Yes.
Let's go on because she's being too humble now.
No, I'm serious.
We have quite a few questions for you today, just to kind of get to know. So, Kristina, how did you kind of go forward in the artistic route? Was it something that was in your youth? Was your family artistic? Or was it just something that you kind of found your way into?
Well, I mean, I think, I've never considered myself an artist. I never really talk about art, but I would say that probably some of the early stirrings of that had to do with, my introduction to art was that my best friend's mom was really, very cultured and studied art appreciation, had a lot of knowledge in art history, and she actually in elementary school did art appreciation with our elementary school, and so that was my best friend's mom. So I learned about art history when I was in 4th and 5th, 6th grade, and my friend's family actually took me into New York and shared with me a lot of theater and culture. And I have to say the minute I walked into the MOMA, it was just it was
yes.
I was my eyes were
For those who don't know,
a cartoon.
of modern art.
Crazy.
Excellent. Put it on your list. Whenever we get out of COVID, go straight there.
Oh man. Yeah. And so, I mean, you learn about art like you see books, but when you see it in real life, like there's just nothing can replace that. And then I did art in elementary school and middle school. But I don't think I really thought of it as like a viable career choice or something I would want to study until I got into high school. And I was just really fortunate to have two art teachers who were significant. And I would say that my main inspiration was a teacher named Betty Van Straten. And her art room was always like my sanctuary. So I just didn't feel comfortable I think Xavier told you the story, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable the math room and the science room gave me hives because it was just I just didn't like the environment, but I just love the art room. I love the smells and the colors and the materials and just the warmth. The way the room was set up just was much more inviting. And so Mrs. Van Straten, was a real inspiration.
Sorry, Kristina.
Yeah.
I just want to know Rocky's favorite art teacher. I'm going to tell you mine, but I want to know yours.
I know yours too, Xavier.
I feel like I'll have a lot of people that have issues with it. So I can't. 'Cause I have a lot.
Well,
There's one main person.
My entire high school experience was filled with a lot of favorites because they were all passionate. And I respond to that. I've just come to learn that when I'm connected to somebody who's passionate about something, it's very easy for me to slide in there and then get passionate about it too. So I had Miss Palmer, who was such a really good painter, knowledgeable about color. So that was very awesome. And Kristina, you definitely know Telemaque, who's a friend of mine today. So there's just a lot of people. I'll just say all of Boston Arts Academy was definitely
the whole place. Yeah.
the favorite. Yeah. What about you guys?
It's Miss Berkeley, and if it wasn't for Miss Berkeley, I can say that I probably wouldn't have gone into art. I didn't have a lot of confidence, and she was, like you said, very passionate, and she was like, "You have the talent," and very similar to my mom, and I just really took to that. And I started cultivating and developing, and then that's when I got into the program at Art Institute of Boston. I had enough confidence to do that pre-college program. So, Miss Berkeley, wherever she's at, kisses and hugs.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Brought you along. I actually had a follow-up question that kind of shifts things, but I know you sent us quite a few of your kind of articles or books where you kind of really dive into the design process. One thing that really caught my eye was how you acknowledge the instinct of a creative. So I'd really love to kind of hear how you define the instinct of art creation or the instinct of design, which I really love.
Yeah, there's actually a series of books on the art instinct that I recommend checking out. But like I said before, I don't really consider myself an artist, or an art doesn't really vibe with me as well, as design. Yeah. But it was the instinct. I mean, I'm still working it out. I mean, I've been working on this thesis for a long time. Yeah. And instinct, I think, has always been a kind of controversial kind of term, because it addresses our biology in a way, our kind of like, what are our natural tendencies or capacities towards something. So I think of instinct like it's things that we're drawn to. So designs that you may even think back to when you were younger, how you design your room, or what the interior of your car looks like, or it's kind of like how you get dressed in the morning, you know, the kind of vibe you want to portray. So I think of instinct like that. And I believe that everybody has an instinct, a design instinct. And I don't know, do you think that's true? Like a design sense, or a kind of something that they have a tendency to?
Well, this is the thing. If someone wears something and you're like, man, what were they thinking? That doesn't match. That doesn't go with that.
Yeah.
Is that component missing from them, or is it like they just have a warped design sense? If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if someone's wearing something and you're like, I wonder why they chose to put those two things together, you know?
Yeah. But I guess is like, how do you value good design? I mean, where does that sense of design come from, Xavier? Is that because your teachers told you that that's good design, or like you read a book, some author said this is good design? So
you're saying it's more subjective then?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what Rocky and Katrina, what you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'll go for a long rant, so I'll let you go.
No, go ahead, Rocky. I gotta think about my answer.
Because I have a lot. But I like this question a lot.
Rocky rant.
Yeah, this is new.
So in response to like the fashion related, I find it interesting how there are times when somebody will wear a lot of like patterns, and for a period of time, you're like, that is terrible. Don't do it. Like the colors don't work, the patterns don't work. But in other times, you'll see that person, or like, you know, during whatever time period it may be, and that's really the staple for that time. So I find it really interesting how, in the sense of design and your instinct, it's subject to change as kind of the social acceptance changes towards those. And then I also thought about, like, when you mentioned the instinct of design, I thought about how, you know, whenever you have two options and you choose one, to some degree, for me, that is design. You know, like, you have the option of choosing red and blue. You chose blue. That is your instinctual decision to make that decision. You know, you like that one better by some kind of code within yourself. And when you have one option, I think of it as being survival. Oh, I only have this one opportunity, and so that's all I have. So I have to take it. So your interaction with decision making, I definitely think for me, that's what kind of the instinct of design that you spoke of within your work really connected for me.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. Just a trivia. This maybe, Xavier, you can riff this in somehow, the podcast, but
okay.
How many, I mean, I don't know the actual data. We're going to have to look it up, but I think humans make 30,000 choices a day or something like that. There's actually.
It's something high like that. Yeah.
Something high like that.
I would love to carry you around like a clicker.
No, that'd be too much.
You would be doing it all day.
Yeah, you lose count.
And I'm like, so that was a decision.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But I think
I love that concept.
Kind of like, I never thought of fashion or style as being design instinct, but kind of thinking about what you were talking about before about the influencers, I think that has an impact on style also. So like Rocky was saying, sometimes you might see certain patterns or colors put together and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But if you saw a high profile celebrity do the same thing, your opinion of it might be different. And so it becomes socially acceptable to wear match patterns or match colors because an influencer did it. And then in terms of the decision making, I did see a statistic about that also. And it mentioned that usually people who have like stressful or decision making jobs tend to dress the same every day because it's one less decision to make. So like Steve Jobs wore the same kind of black turtleneck and jeans every day because he made so many decisions throughout the day. It's just one less thing to think about. So I know that was interesting too.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's a really good take. I like that. In design, we call them iterations or alternatives. And that's a key component of design that makes a distinct field. But
Whew. Well, I definitely want to kind of move us to something
Yeah.
a little more lighter.
all right.
This, because I feel like my brain is like, wow. And I'm running like at 150 miles per hour, and I really love it. But I wonder, what have we know the time we live in, unprecedented
Yes.
is the word of the year.
Mhm.
During this time of Corona, so many things going on, protests, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what drives your creative energy, like when you think about all the things going on presently, or even just being in your house?
Well, this kind of gets into my like bigger life mission, but I just, I think design should be taught at a very young age, because I think that notion of choice is so important in life. Like, I think people need to know that they have choices, and when you make choices, that becomes a design. I think design has become so important in terms of, you talk a lot about, and Xavier, you're now our house expert on UX, but, user experience and user personas and all that stuff, all that lingo now we're
Experience
working in design. But it's just like how we're designing, in a human-centered way that's going to keep us safe. Or I've been really so amazed to watch all the protests, and globally especially, and to see, just some graphic design like the signs and murals, and just it's fascinating just to see the role that design plays in everyday sort of life. But I tend to like, what gets me up every morning is just kind of being witness to that, like witness to the design process, and just how it can really be a positive change in people's lives. That's when I think it gets me really, I'm never bored of it, like to see that.
Another thing that you mentioned that kind of piqued my interest was how in classrooms they'll use posters and design really just as decoration, but never really use it as an educational tool or to the full capacity that it could be used to define. So I just really wanted to bring that out because I thought that's very interesting, because in my classrooms, design and colors and things like that were more so colors and decoration as opposed to educational. So I wonder, have you had any kind of concepts as to how to go about making it possible for design to be used in kind of all platforms of education?
Well, I've been the whole time I've been at Lesley, I've been, I came to Lesley University because of the, I think this is still true that Lesley graduates more teachers than any other school in New England. It's known for teacher education. It was founded by Edith Lesley in her living room, training women for the workforce and teaching. So that really drew me to Lesley, but then also the opportunity to be in an ACAD level, like art and design school. And so I've been looking to cultivate a program that connects design and education. And the latest version of that program is called Design for Learning. And it's kind of a workshop for teachers, designers, and technologists to come together to kind of, and I think that's going to become critical after post-COVID. That's going to be critical because, learning will never be the same again.
I was going to piggyback off that. Humans kind of have there's different patterns of learning. There's the people who are more auditory, like they get it through listening.
Yeah.
There's the tactile, kinesthetic, and then there's the visual. Now, I like the premise of when you're in school from a young age, that's kind of identified, and then you're kind of walked that way. The teachers kind of they kind of not assimilate, but they understand your learning style. And that's not really done. It's kind of like a cookie cutter mentality. Like you either get it or you stay back. It's like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Could you just talk a little bit about that? Like just
Wow,
learn.
that's a big topic. I think what you're speaking to is, the theory of multiple intelligences, and that we have different capacities. And now I take a very strong stance on this, and I believe that I think everything is visual, and I think everyone can access the visual. Even those who are blind, because you can see through your mind's eye, right?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, I believe that we all have capacity for the visual, which is our dominant sense, and that through that sense perception is. There's an article that you can read that was written by my buddy Larry Myatt, who is the founder of Fenway High School, and he talked about the unexplored promise of visual literacy in classrooms, and I think it talks about this as the missed opportunity for the visual literacy, visual knowing. I don't think that we're working at capacity when thinking about that, and I don't think that teachers really know how to tap into that sense in schools. I have a diagram in one of my writings that kind of looks at it like, when you're in early childhood. And Rocky, we went through that Reggio Emilia exhibit together, the 100 languages of children at BU, and that looks at like 100 languages of children, and but I think when we're young and we are allowed, to explore, we discover things, we kind of work with that visual sense, and if it's cultivated, and then you do a lot of art projects like in early childhood, early elementary, but then by the time you hit first grade, I think that's where the split, Xavier you described, happens. Either you get labeled as like, oh, that kid is like can draw or has like an art kid, or the other kids go into some other sports or math, or I mean, I've always seen Xavier, you as more of like, it's interesting because I see you as more of an analytical thinker. Like if I think about it, that it's too bad that UX wasn't more around when you were a student, because I think that human-centered design, UX, is definitely like, it's like, that's the kind of mind that I saw you had as a student when we were together in the classroom. But Rocky, when I saw just your drawings, it just, I think you had that very, it's like it's very analytical, but like the anatomy, like I'm jealous. You're jealous of me with stuff. I'm jealous because you can draw like anatomy. Like, look at that, how beautiful the anatomy is. I mean, I'm just going to say this on, publicly, but you're like you're Da Vinci, like you're drawing. I have to say, Rocky, you were born with some mad talent. I'm telling you.
Kristina, his head's about to blow. Like,
I will actually.
The headphone's about to pop off.
Well, I've said that to people before. I don't know if I ever told you that directly, but I mean, I think that you're.
Well, that's a good way to segue into our next segment.
All right.
And so we're going to take a commercial break here.
Okay.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Starving Artist Podcast. My name is Katrina, and full disclosure, I am not one of the artists, but we're here to bring some awesome conversation about navigating an industry that's really about pursuing your passion. These two guys have worked hard to get to where they are today, and they're here to share with us their knowledge and expertise, but also to have a little fun. We hope that you enjoy getting to know them and getting to know their work. Enjoy the ride.
We have a few rapid fire questions we're going to ask our guest, Kristina. We got to get a little information from her, get a little insight into her thinking already. We're going to get a little bit more, just kind of random information from Kristina. So we're going to put 1 minute on the clock. We're going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What animal are you most afraid of?
Snakes.
Yep.
What was your most recent Amazon purchase?
Yes. That's
A
good
book
question.
on light in art and design.
Wow.
Okay. What's your favorite summer activity?
Beach, Rhode Island beaches.
Me too.
Yeah, that's nice.
What's the best concert you've ever attended?
Ooh.
That's a hard one.
That's a tough question.
I would say probably the most memorable was Radiohead.
Ooh.
Radiohead.
Favorite artist?
Favorite artist?
Mm-hmm.
Paul Clay.
Ooh, okay.
Least favorite vegetable?
Let's see. Least favorite. Oh, that's a tough one. I like every vegetable.
What? Even cauliflower?
I like everything. I really do.
Gotta choose one.
Every fruit. Least favorite.
Lettuce.
I don't like when it's.
I like lettuce.
I don't like potatoes when they're like really large. Like it's kind of monotonous. I don't know.
Okay.
Like baked potatoes you're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, I don't like mashed potato. Actually, mashed potatoes I don't like.
Mashed
potatoes. What?
Mashed potatoes? Wait a minute.
You gotta stop the podcast. Stop the podcast.
I like baked, no mashed. Sorry.
Put another minute on the clock.
My sound is
Ooh, I don't know what happened.
All
You guys
right.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my sound went out when I said, what?
All right, that's our time, people. You can watch this entire podcast on our YouTube channel at Starving Artist Podcast. You will see some bonus content from time to time, like bloopers or even a dance battle video between Rocky and Xavier. You can also listen on SoundCloud at Starving Artist. You can connect with us on Instagram at starving_artist_podcast or on Facebook at starvingartistpodcast.fb. Also, you can now support us on Patreon. So head on over to our Patreon page for exclusives and extended interviews and behind the scenes with the artists. So a big thank you to all our subscribers and followers. We really appreciate all of you. Be sure to leave your comments online and tell a friend about us as well. So if it's your first time watching or listening, be sure to check out our previous episodes. Make sure you hit those subscribe buttons. I've been Katrina, signing off.
I'm Kristina signing off.
This is Professor X signing off.
Rocky signing off. The Starving Artist Podcast.
The Starving Artist Podcast.
Starving Artist Podcast.
The Starving Artist Podcast.
Yay, we did it!